Well, good morning. You and I, we make this beloved circle whole. So come and join in. We've been waiting for you. Let's begin in love and in openness to grow our faith, especially in this month of May, as we're trusting in transformation. I don't know about you, but there's nothing quite as transformational as a flower blooming. So let's begin with that. And Arnolfo's going to sing, Come, Come, Whoever You Are, just like welcoming in all of us, just as we are. And here he is.
Ven, ven, eres ven, nómada en búsqueda, si amas la vida, la nuestra es la caravana de amor. Ven otra vez, ven, 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 cual eres, ven, nómada en búsqueda, si amas la vida, la nuestra es la caravana de amor. Ven otra vez, ven, 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 cual eres, ven, nómada en búsqueda, si amas la vida, la nuestra es la caravana de amor. Ven otra vez, ven, 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 cual eres, ven, nómada en búsqueda, si amas la vida, la nuestra es la caravana de amor. Ven otra vez, ven.
For our chalice lighting today, Marianne's going to be sharing with us both the chalice lighting and this picture of the tulip that she got at the October Garden Ghoulish Walk. Here she is. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift. B. Stop and be. So we pause and turn our attention inward like a light to focus on how our body is doing. And we focus on it with care and awareness. So you can do a body scan. You can let your attention and awareness go to what in your body is asking for it. Maybe you have constraint or openness. Maybe you feel some tension in your muscles somewhere. Whatever is going on, to offer it care and attention just as it is. And next, we turn our care and awareness to our breath. So opening up to our awareness and care of our breath just as it is, not needing to change it, but just understanding the quality of it, what's going on in our breath. Watch it as it comes into your body and goes out of your body. How is it connecting you to all of life? And the third arrival is to turn our attention to our heart and mind. What's going on in our emotions in our heart? We could be feeling a number of things: scared, happy, excited, worried, sad. But in this moment right now, can you turn your awareness and your care to whatever's going on in your heart with a loving, caring, yes, I know that is there. And the same is true for our thoughts, to be able to watch them in our minds as they go. Whether you're thinking about what's going on right now, you're thinking about the future, or something that happened before, whatever your thoughts are, to let them go by and just notice them, yes, and give them a care and awareness that you are who you are, and these are your thoughts as they are as a human being right now. For our moment of inquiry today, I have a question for you, and that is, what do you think that this melting pot ceremony was celebrating? So the melting pot ceremony was done by Henry Ford's school. So Henry Ford is the guy who started the Ford car line, right? And so he had this ceremony where people would be on one side and be dressed and talk and have all their cultural ways of being very explicit and very expressive of who they were. And on the other side, they would go through this giant melting pot that he had there. Not real melting inside, but a metaphor of change. Go in there, transform, and come out the other side like wearing an American businessman suit. Why do you think he had this ceremony? Well, the answer is that Henry Ford believed that the best way for people to get along in America, if you were an immigrant from another country, was to give up all your language and the way that you dressed, maybe the way you talked, maybe the norms of how you were in your ethnic culture. Give that up so that you could be what's called assimilated, meaning made similar to everybody else in America. And in his mind, everybody else was like businessmen in suits, right? So when we're talking about trusting in transformation or trusting in change for the better, we're not talking about this kind of practice of assimilation, making everything similar to one thing. We're talking about a different kind of transformation. And the kind of transformation we're looking for is a kind of liberation, which is that every person, uniquely as they are, just like things in nature, every person just as they are, reaching their fullest self and their fullest expression of who they are. So not everybody becoming the same thing, but everybody becoming themselves together. So Victoria is going to share us a story just about this thing, and it's called The Crow and the Partridges. And here she is.
This is the story of Crow and Partridges. There once lived a crow in a forest. One day, when the crow was flying along, she saw some partridges walking around below. "What a beautiful way of walking those partridges have," said the crow. "I must try to see if I can walk like them." So the crow joined behind the partridges walking about and tried for a long time to learn to walk like a partridge. The partridges were seeing all of this and were very confused about what the crow was doing. At last, one partridge turned around and asked Crow what she was about. "What are you doing, Crow?" "Do not be angry with me," replied the crow. "I have never seen before a bird who walks as beautifully as you can. I am trying to learn to walk like you." Partridge understood the situation and said to Crow, "Foolish bird," responded the partridge. "You are a crow and should walk like a crow. You would look silly indeed if you were to strut like a partridge." But the crow went on trying to walk like them. She could not walk like the partridges. She kept mimicking them until finally she had forgotten her own walk, and she never learned that of the partridge.
So in response to this story, I would invite you to sing along with "I Know This Rose Will Open" to affirm that inherent worth and dignity of every person, and saying, "I know, I know, I know."
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know, I know, I know. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know, I know, I know. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know, I know, I know. I know this rose, I know this rose, I know my fear, I know my fear, I know my soul, I know my soul, I know this rose, I know this rose will open. I know, I know, I know. I know this rose, I know this rose, I know my fear, I know my fear, I know my soul, I know my wings, I know this wings, I know this rose will open. I know, I know, I know. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know, I know, I know. I know, I know, I know. I know.
So this story has so much in it. The first thing, of course, is for us to be ourselves, right? Not to compare. I'm not like this person. I'm not like that person. To just be ourselves and show up to life just as our beautiful selves. And not to worry or try to be like everybody else. That's the first thing. And it really celebrates our first principle of our inherent worth and dignity and affirming that. The second thing is that being your best human actually makes for a better community. So the beloved community is made up of people who can be their fullest, freest selves. And as an example of this, I just found out that Allison, one of our teenagers at church, she's becoming quite a photographer, and she sent me some of the things that she has stopped to pay attention to in nature. Aren't they beautiful? And the third thing is a little trickier, and that is that restoration is possible. The crow could have said, well, I don't really think that being a partridge is working for me. And he could have gone back to being a crow, but didn't, right? But as human beings, if we ever lose our way along the way, and we stray from what is deeply human and caring and compassionate in us, we can return to that. If we get, if we try to be like this person or that person and it's not working, we can come back and restore that native kind of innate wisdom in us about who we are. So a witness of this would be that yesterday, a team of people in the green team went to church and we planted some native plants. And you might think, well, that has nothing to do with these birds or who we are as humans, but it actually does, because one of the things that we're trying to do in the church garden is to continue to plant native plants, to return the land to its native way of being together. And so by restoring that little bit of place at church, in the church garden, we are restoring a little bit of that native innate wisdom of the ecosystem where we are. And finally, the thing that the story teaches me is that sometimes we have to be a pain. Sometimes we have to interrupt. When somebody is trying to be like somebody else, or there's something going on where people aren't able to be freely themselves, that we can interrupt and say, what are you doing? Or how come you're treating this person this way? Because part of that kind of being a pain or interrupting is really sacred. It means that I care so much about who you are, and I so much want you to grow to be who you are in your fullest self, that I'm going to say something and I'm going to stop and say, I want that for you. So here's a song that we're going to close out with called Be a Pain, and it means just this. It means to speak up and to use your own voice to support the freedom of every person's fullest self. And with that, I'm going to say a great big inclusive love for you from church. So let's sing together, Be a Pain. Bye for now. I'll see you next time.
If you see something that's wrong, raise your hand and say that's wrong. Point it out and name that thing by its name. Don't stand by and stare. If it's wrong, it's your affair. Don't be quiet, make a riot. Be a pain. Be a pain, shout about it and complain. Ignore the crowd and go against the grain. Don't be polite, raise your voice and do what's right. Be a pain, be a pain, be a pain. When Rosa Parks sat on that bus, she chose to make a fuss. She chose to break the rules and take the blame. Her choice to sit and fight helped to bring on civil rights, because one strong woman chose to be a pain. Be a pain, shout about it and complain. If they say you have to move, say I'll remain. Don't be polite, raise your voice and do what's right. Be a pain, be a pain, be a pain. Harvey Milk chose to run for the council board and won, even though folks said you can't because you're gay. One brave LGBTQ elected leader ran and knew you can change things if you choose to be a pain. Be a pain, shout about it and complain. Tell them I won't let you make me feel ashamed. Don't be polite, raise your voice and do what's right. Be a pain, be a pain, be a pain. Tennis star named Billie Jean told the world she had a dream that men and women would be paid the same. She refused to hit that ball till there was equal pay for all. She was a king because she was a royal pain. Be a pain, shout about it and complain. If they refuse to pay, refuse to play the game. Don't be polite, raise your voice and do what's right. Be a pain, be a pain, be a pain. Kids from Parkland led the fight for something they all knew was right. They said it's time for us to finally make a change. If adults can't compromise, we must go march for our lives. They spoke out and led the charge. they all were pains. Be a pain, shout about it and complain.